viewers, this is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary series. Opponent sacrifices an attacking creature. Blessed Alliance. Very powerful card for 2 mana. You know, the ability to make them sacrifice something, or, you could preempt it by tapping down 2 creatures, and then, gaining 4 life, not that big a deal, but very powerful, especially since it gives you the options, and then you can also choose more than one because of the escalate. But, it was a hangerback walker, so effectively he's just replacing one creature with 2 because it was a 2/2. So I don't know what this guy's running. Maybe it's Boros aggro. The other side is running some kind of a Rakdos aggro deck that's, I know it sounds kind of redundant, but very aggro. Incendiary Flow is not a bad card. Everybody wishes it was an instant, but it's not, so you just have to deal with what it is. And, 3 damage to a creature or player is kind of important. We haven't really had the option for that at a very cheap mana cost that's very good. And then the bonus of being able to make that creature be exiled is a big deal. Ooh, Lightning Axe Fiery Temper on one of his own creatures, but he did that for a reason. He has Lupine Prototype and Bloodhall Priest. So, Bloodhall Priest fires off a shock every time it attacks or comes into play when you have no cards in hand. For those of us older players, that's called Hellbent. And Lupine Prototype is a 5/5 for 2 generic mana that can't attack or block unless you have no cards in hand. So, he's making that card work. I've been wanting to see people try and make that card work because it's a very tempting prospect to get a 5/5 for just 2 mana. And that's the thing about a Rakdos aggro deck, or, those cheap, typically red aggro decks. Or, heck, you could even throw it into White Weenie, because they're kind of the same vein. They are cheap, they are fast, they fire off a lot of cards as quickly as they can, and typically that is one of the problems with red deck wins, is you run out of cards so fast that if you haven't killed your opponent by the time you run out of cards, you typically lose. Now, I'm not saying that Lupine Prototype would solve that problem, but it certainly would give you a little extra oomph at that point when you're losing momentum, because that's a 5/5 versus most of the other creatures that, cheap, fast decks like that run, which typically don't have that high a power and definitely don't have that high a toughness. So, second turn Asylum Visitor from Rakdos. And, he's got all these synergistic cards that work for when he has no cards in hand. Asylum Visitor, that would let him draw more cards, losing life each time. You saw Bloodhall Visitor, which basically lets him shock repeatedly. Lupine Prototype, which is the big, basically vanilla muscle. But so far, we haven't seen a whole lot from this Boros side, and I'm wondering why. Maybe he's running some kind of a mid-range, so, he's supposed to control the board early so that he can get giant, nasty creatures out later. Because if he's an aggro deck, his deck is not being very aggro. So, Stormkirk Occultist. It's a very nice card. It's another card that's really good for these fast aggressive decks that run red, because it effectively lets you draw an extra card every time it hits. And being that it has trample, small creatures may be able to block and kill it, but you're typically going to trample over for, say, 1 and still get the card. But in situations like this is 6 damage that Boros cannot block, so he has to deal with it spell-wise. And Blessed Alliance. He wanted to make him sacrifice a creature as opposed to tapping them down early. So he's going to gain 4 life, which will mitigate one of the creatures, and then he's going to make one of them get sacrificed, which will take care of the other. Unfortunately, that still means that he dealt damage, so he gets the extra card. And he got Incendiary Flow, which is another 3 damage. So instead of taking 9, he took, let's see, he took, what is it, 6 minus 4, 2, because he gained 4. Now, Rakdos isn't really getting out a whole lot so far. You know, it looks like he might be a little bit mana screwed. But on the other side, Boros is effectively doing nothing. Alright, finds a mountain, which is not a bad thing. It gets it off the top of your deck, gets it into play so that you can use it. Another Asylum Visitor. And 2 more mana for Hangerback Walker. Now, honestly, I wouldn't think that Hangerback Walker would be fast enough for a deck like this, but then again, it has so much. Oh, Planar Outburst from Boros. That'll get rid of the board, but like, back to the Hangerback Walker. It's so. I don't want to say synergistic because that's not the word that I'm trying to think of, but multifaceted is the only thing that I can come up with right now. There's another word that I was thinking of for it, but it can do very many things. You know, you can get it out early as a 1/1, and for example, if you're facing off against a fast aggressive deck, Hangerback Walker can chump block or block and kill a small creature. Gets you a Thopter token, which can do the same thing as the Hangerback Walker did, except not get you another creature. Or now you have a flying creature, which honestly, flying creatures aren't really that common in Standard. But Boros throws out a Flameblade Angel, a 4/4 flyer that whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, Flameblade Angel deals 1 damage to that source's controller. Alright, Lupine Prototype followed up by Lightning Axe Fiery Temper combo. And seriously, that is a very powerful combo. 2 red mana lets you deal 5 to a creature and then 3 to either a creature or a player. So you're getting 8 damage for 2 red mana. And then another Incendiary Flow, and Boros is taking 5. He's at 5, and wow. That was very bad for Boros. I think we figured out that he was trying to run a mid-range deck, but he just got mauled by this Rakdos deck. And I'll be honest, Flameblade Angel is not really a very good card. You know, you think that ability, oh yeah, they deal damage to me or one of my creatures, they have to take a damage, you know, that's kind of cool, but it's not very effective. Not at all. And then so setting that aside, a 4/4 flyer for 6. No. You know, there are much better creatures that you can be running, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I am gonna post this because of the Hellbent nature of the Rakdos deck. I kind of like the feel of that. He's got a lot of synergies working for him, and surprisingly, there are a lot of cards that that work so well together like that for getting for getting down to no cards and then still being able to do something afterwards. So that was, I will call it Rakdos Hellbent versus Boros Midrange. And sorry, Boros Midrange, but if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I will see you in the next video.